My next patron question is from Billy, who wanted to know about a director's recent film choices. What happened to Robert Rodriguez? His recent projects in the last 15 years, aside from Battle Angel, have been critical and financial flops. Was it his one-man crew style going out of touch? Robert Rodriguez has certainly had an interesting career, with him becoming particularly known for doing almost anything in-house and working largely independently. He started off directing an extremely low-budget, mostly self-financed action movie titled El Mariachi. That film got him attention in Hollywood, which led to films with larger budgets and big names, most notably From Dusk Till Dawn. He then became known for directing violent films, and many people probably assumed he would always stick to making those kinds of movies. However, he did not just want to direct R-rated movies, and eventually decided to create something aimed more at families that excited them the same way his own childhood favorites did. Spy Kids, with its simple premise, imaginative visuals, and wish-fulfillment elements, became a big hit and showed Rodriguez was capable of making other types of movies besides ones with lots of guns and shooting. For the next several years, he jumped to making family-friendly films like the Spy Kids series and Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and R-rated action movies like Sin City, Planet Terror, and Machete. Depending on what kind of Robert Rodriguez movie you went to see, you probably had a general idea of what you would be getting. A lot of his films usually involved him supervising a lot of the roles himself, including editing and visual effects. He seems to prefer having as much control as possible, and he's certainly got enough of a pedigree to make that possible. Have many of his films been well received over the past decade or so? Not particularly, with his family films especially being panned for being overly silly, featuring bizarre visuals, and relying on gimmicks. What seemed fresh in Spy Kids would eventually become tired to many in his later films, even a few of the Spy Kids sequels. Shark Boy and Lava Girl especially became known more for several meme-ready lines than its actual quality. While he's still making his independent films nowadays, he has become attached to big studio projects. One of the most high-profile was Alita Battle Angel, which he was handpicked by James Cameron to direct. Even though it is, by far, the biggest budget film Rodriguez has directed, it was still filmed at his Troublemaker Studios in Texas. The visual effects were handled by bigger shops though, most notably Weta Digital. There's been debate over whether Alita was profitable or not, but $400 million is nonetheless an impressive number for a Hollywood movie based on a Japanese manga, as those historically have not done very well at the box office. The film was a crowd pleaser and showed Robert Rodriguez could still wow audiences, although having James Cameron by his side probably also helped things. He was also heavily involved in the Book of Boba Fett series, and while that show got a mixed reaction, I thought it was watchable enough. The strangest part for me was more that it suddenly turned into another season of The Mandalorian about halfway through, but that was Jon Favreau's idea, not Rodriguez. His directorial flourishes are still present in the episodes he directed though, and he seemed to enjoy the opportunity to play in the Star Wars sandbox. He has not completely abandoned the movies that are his bread and butter though. He recently directed We Can Be Heroes, a Shark Boy and Lava Girl spin-off on Netflix. That one actually got okay reviews from critics, and has even become one of the most watched movies on Netflix according to a variety of services that track that information. This was likely a combination of nostalgic adults who grew up on his family movies and the next generation of children now finding out about his work. This week, a new Spy Kids movie is landing on Netflix, and I assume that will also get decent viewership. He has released a few independent films that did not get much attention though. Did you know he directed a small horror movie named Red 11 a few years ago? I did not know until I was looking up his filmography again for this video. He filmed it after Alita, although it would not get a general release until 2021 and was largely ignored when it hit VOD platforms. He also directed a thriller titled Hypnotic starring Ben Affleck, which had to deal with the original distributor shutting down and then received largely negative reviews and flopped at the box office. While not all of Robert Rodriguez's movies have been winners, he still appears to be in demand, and Netflix seems like they're particularly happy to be working with him on whatever family film he makes at home. He's just a hard-working filmmaker who loves putting any wild idea he has on screen, and him building his own operations is something that is admired even by his detractors. Even when one of his movies is not well received, he always seems to bounce back up. Thank you for your question, Billy.